All right, guys, I'll mute you all, and then what's happening? Let's try that again. Okay. All right, guys. Yeah, it's been a couple of weeks since we've last met, and so there's a bit to get through. So I just want to acknowledge all the milestones since the last Zoom meeting. We had first Divi 1 games, Matt Raymond, Pat Lally in the field, and Josh Fawn on the boundary. 50th game, Steve Denton in the field. Richard Hall's doing his 50th this week. Alex Manning, Steve Williams, Samuel Jobb, Jack Gillingham, and Kim Marshall. Justin House and Josh Johnson doing their 100th. Simon Farrell did his 200th last weekend, and Pat Lycett's doing his 300th this weekend. Now I'm just getting some internet issues here, so I've got a backup. I'll just put that in. All right. Just want a quick note to say thanks to all the umpires that have umpired extra games this year. On Saturdays, we've got a huge amount of games we've been covering. So we've been doing A, B, and C men's games and all the women's games except the one reserves for women's. Only been able to cover as many games as we have because of the amount of umpires willing to do more than one game a day. It's not expected that you do, so it's no problem if you just want to do the one game in a day. But for those who have been willing to do so, certainly grateful for your efforts. We've got a few injuries and unavailabilities at the moment, so I'm going to have to get the clubs to cover the C7 games. But other than that, we'll keep doing the rest. But yeah, just wanted a quick note to say thank you for those that have done multiple games. We had Tony Simons and Dave Alwood do 3 games last weekend, which on the Saturday, which was probably asking a bit much of them, but those guys are machines, and yeah, they did a great job. A reminder about meeting coaches before a game. There is no excuse not to do it. And that's both umpires need to see both coaches. There is no excuse. So I had one issue happen on the weekend, and at the end of the conversation, he mentioned that I didn't even see him before the game. It actually does play a role, I believe, in a coach having positive or negative thoughts about the umpires quite often. So if they get to see you and have that, I guess, connection with you, they may not have the negative feelings that they may have if they don't meet you. So it's the only opportunity they get to see you and speak to you, and it's just important that everyone does it. I know most of you do, but just every now and again it pops up that someone hasn't done it and lets the team down. So just a reminder that there is no excuse for you not to do it. Golden Grove game, still expected that if you're appointed to a Golden Grove game, you should wear the grey polo shirt during a game. That's just to avoid the clash with the Golden Grove jumpers. However, new umpires this year, we're not insisting that they buy the off-field uniform for a couple of reasons. You know, we're allowing people to go straight to the game in their on-field uniform due to the COVID situation, so you're not hanging around the change room so much. Also, because we're getting 50% pay this year for new umpires, we're just asking them to buy the on-field stuff. So if you're appointed to a Golden Grove game, take your polo shirt, grey polo shirt if you have one, and your normal green shirt, and you can be prepared for whatever the other umpire has. Yeah, still, if you both have the grey polo shirt, it's ideal if you can. Had a couple of interesting holding the ball examples in the game that I was doing on the weekend. I'll just run you through it. So, player took possession of the ball. There was a clear prior opportunity. He was legally tackled. The ball dropped down, and everyone at the ground expected holding the ball to be paid, and the umpire called play on. And I asked him afterwards, you know, why didn't you pay it? And his answer was because on the way down, it hit the foot. Now, I cleared it up with him so that next time he would pay it, because it needs to be a clear kick. If it just dribbles off the foot and it touches the foot, that's not a clear kick. So, yeah, it was one of those ones that you see every now and again. Just wanted to bring it up tonight so that if you see something similar, you pay holding the ball if it's just dribbled off the foot. But if it's a clear kick, you obviously let it go. The other one that I saw on the weekend in the same game, which I do see every now and again too, that the player took possession of the ball. There was no prior opportunity. He was legally tackled to the ground, and the ball ended up underneath the player. And you sometimes see they do it. They put their arms out like this. That they're lying over the ball. It's like they put their arms out to say, "I haven't had a chance to get rid of it." But the moment they put both their arms out like that, they're actually not making a genuine attempt. So if they do that, play a hole in the ball, because you've had no prior, but you're not making a genuine attempt. Make sense? So yeah, just a couple of interesting ones that you don't see all that often that happen in the games on the weekend that I was involved in. I thought I'd bring up tonight. Another interesting one, might have been Sam that brought this one up, or someone contacted me about it. The AFL games over the weekend. It certainly happened in the Sydney game. I reckon it happened in the Port game too. It's an unusual free kick you don't see it too often. It was a rule that was brought about by Alexander Clarkson, I guess, making the most of it in 2008, where a player handballs the ball to a teammate, and the player tackling the player who had the ball holds on to the Guernsey to stop that player from running on. And they changed the rule because Hawthorn really made the most of it back then. And the rule is, I'll read it to you. It's 19.3, preventing a player taking part in the next act of play. If a player intentionally makes prohibitive contact against an opposition player who is disposed of the football for the purpose of preventing that player from taking part in the next act of play, the field umpire shall award a free kick and a 50-metre penalty to that player. Now, obviously, we don't pay 50-metre penalties. They're just 25s in Adelaide Footy League. The coaches don't tend, and the players don't tend to push the limits in our comp like they do at the AFL. But you should be aware of it. So if you do see it, you know what to do. Don't go looking for it. It should stand out. But yeah, we would only pay 25. So if you believe it's better just to pay the advantage and not stop the play, then just let it go. But if you think that the 25-metre penalty from where the ball is an advantage, then stop the play and pay the 25. So it all makes sense. It's a bit of a blue mooner. Happened a couple of times on the weekend. Worth pointing it out. Feel free to unmute yourself if you want to ask any questions about that. But yeah, we don't want to go looking for it. It should stand out. Couple other things. Notifying a runner after issuing a red or yellow card. I'm getting feedback that not everyone's doing that. So whether it's a yellow or red card, you must notify the runner of that player about what's happened. So don't run off with the player. Wait out in the middle. And if you need to prompt that runner to come out to you, then do so and wait until they come out, so that you can tell them it's a red card, tell them it's a yellow card, tell them how long the player's off for. It just clears up any confusion from the clubs, and the communication's a really important part of stopping any other problems that has happened because we haven't been doing that. Goal umpire errors. We had a beauty on the weekend. I won't say from what game, but it was one where the goal umpire was in the right position. Ball came through, hit the post, and then bounced to the point side of the goal post. But in going back, he fumbled, like he tripped over himself and took his eyes off the ball. And the angle on the vision, like it's so clear that it's gone through the points, and he's come up and given a goal. It was just unfortunate. The team that had the goal scored against them wasn't too happy. You can understand why, but it was just a pure mistake. If, as a field umpire, you have an angle on it and you get in there and communicate with the goal umpire, if you can sense that the goal umpire is uncertain, then you can guide them on what the score should be and you can correct it. If the league appointed umpire, you have that sort of discussion, and then if they're 100% certain, go with them. In this case, if the field umpire had got in and they were certain, they didn't have an angle on it, but if they had seen it, you would have picked up the goal umpire was uncertain and you could have guided them to the correct call. But if it's a club appointed umpire, you wouldn't have that same conversation. Pretty much direct them what the score is if you are certain about it. So yeah, interesting one on the weekend. The app, I know it's continuing to cause issues. You know, I know personally from when I'm using it, I have to uninstall and reinstall every weekend. It's a pain in the neck. I don't know whether we'll get it fixed this year. Sporting Pulse and those dealing with it are a bit hard to contact at the moment just because of COVID. So, but we can get it working. And so it's not okay just to give up and go home and email. You've got 2 umpires there. One of you should be able to get it working on your phone. And if neither of you can get it working, you need to ring Peter Angel, who can help out. Yeah, don't just give it
Rob here.
I'll email it.
Colin, it's Rob here. One option is to, rather than uninstall, reinstall, go into your settings and go into your apps and clear the cache, which does effectively the same thing, and then it works. You need to log back in, and then it works. I've got to do it each week as well. Yeah,
and there's a clear local data button. Anyway, Pete can take you through all that. We had one umpire on the weekend that clearly just went straight home, and I got a bit shitty because he just purely didn't try, from what I can gather. And it wasn't just him that didn't try; it was the other umpires that are on with that didn't try. So it's just not okay to do that. Call Peter if you're having problems and he'll help you. Okay, water bottles. Since we last spoke, the clear direction from John Kernahan is there's no water bottles to be taken out to players while the game's in progress. So players must either be rotated to the bench to get a drink during play or wait until the quarter time break. If you see it happening or there are concerns from the opposition that it's happening, then approach the matchday official of the team concerned and point out that it needs to stop immediately and make some notes in the app after the game. It's not a hard instruction, but some clubs are just not getting the message. Funny, I was doing a women's game, not last weekend, the weekend before, and I noticed on the side that there was a water carrier, and I stopped the play and just yelled out, make sure they don't come out to the ground. And then I got an email that following Monday from the team's coach saying, we had this umpire on the weekend that told us we couldn't use water bottles. I think the umpire was mistaken and said, no, it was me. So, yeah, we just need to be really firm with that. It's not a priority that we should worry about umpiring the game and just look out for water bottles. But if it's pointed out to us, we need to deal with it there and then. Last point before we get onto the coaching video. We won't have a Zoom meeting next Monday night because it's Port's turn to play on a Monday night, and I know some of you will be going to that. So we'll have our next Zoom meeting in a fortnight's time. Before we get onto the coaching video, is there anything that anyone wants to ask or raise from the weekend's matches?
Rob again. I had Chips Cross the Woody South on the weekend, and 3/4 time, Woodville South were warming up behind the goals. So I wouldn't start the quarter and I made them move, but they were pretty upset, as was their A-grade runner. But I said, well, you can't start the game. You need to be away from behind the goals.
Perfect. That's what I've asked you to do. Spot on. And tell them if they've got a problem with it to contact me during the week. I'll explain exactly why you're doing what you're doing. So well done.
It was not only that, it's the players in the B-grade game that are carrying on because they want you to get the game going.
No. Clubs need to be mindful. They can't do that.
Hey, Carl.
Yeah, mate.
Mate, is there a ruling on when you should start, what time of game you should start using a yellow ball? Like after a certain time, whether it's 3 o'clock or 3? No?
No. Not that I'm aware of.
So for the night game, for the 5 o'clock games, should you start using a yellow ball or red ball?
I think for the night games, there should be a yellow ball. But in those instances, as long as both clubs are happy to proceed, then go with what they've got. But for night games, ideally, they've got a yellow ball. And if only one club have a yellow ball, then you'll just have to use that all game. But have that discussion pre-game with the clubs and make sure they're happy to proceed. And if there's any problems, give us a call.
And what about when should the club turn on the lights?
Well, it's not really our concern, mate. Just
Okay.
leave it to the clubs to work out.
Okay.
If you think it's a safety issue and they're not on, then you can make an issue of it. But yeah, let's not get too worried about going around and organising a game when the clubs need to be responsible for that.
Yep. Happy days. Thank you.
Hey, Cole.
Yeah, mate.
When a player gets injured and the ball goes away from that player, but the team with the injured player is screaming the player down, you don't worry about the player. The trainers worry to get there, and you worry about the player because they were carrying on a bit, saying, "Oh, she's injured." So
you're talking about a women's game?
Yeah.
It happens a bit more in a women's game than a men's game. I don't want to sound sexist, but it's a fact. I've done plenty of women's games that quite often they are down for a bit longer than you would expect.
Yeah.
And then they find themselves get to their feet in due course. It's really an assessment on your behalf. If you believe that they're not getting up and if the ball comes back, it's going to be a safety issue, stop the play.
Yeah, it went down for a point. We then stopped the play. Trainer went out to her. I think she tore her hammy or something, and they walked her off. And then we waited till she got off. Then we restarted the game.
Yeah, so I guess if they're walking off, you can usually start the game.
They were being carried off.
Someone who's been knocked out, needs a stretcher, etc., that you really want to stop a game. Once they're up and they're in the hands of the trainer, use your discretion. Use what you think is best. I mean, if you've got a concern about it, there's no hassle to stop the game.
It was a very good flowing game, but it was up and back quite a bit, so the girl had to sort of walk right to the middle of the ground.
No, if you think it's going to cause a problem, there's no hassle to stop.
Yep, cool. Thanks.
Anyone else?
Yeah, Chris Peters here. You just asked me to remind you from the game a couple of weeks ago about the trees at Sacred Heart Oval, just for more consensus.
Yeah. That was a bit of a blue matter. So it happens at Sacred Heart, happens at Morpheville Park, where sometimes the ball hits the tree and it was going to go out and then it bounces back into play. If the ball has clearly gone over the line on the full, it's a free kick for out in the full. But if it hits the tree before it goes out and then bounces back in, it's just play on. It's a bit of a blue mooner, but until the rules and regulations are changed in the league, which perhaps needs to happen, if in that situation and the ball hasn't yet gone out, it's just play on.
Thanks, Cole.
Cheers, mate.
Hey, Cole. Another blue mooner for you. I'm not sure if there's anything built into the bylaws around this or not, but did 5 women's game on the weekend. They struggled to field a team, but just had the numbers, so they were playing without a bench. Player got sent off for a blood rule, and they obviously had no one to rotate on.
Yeah.
I guess what's the general thought around that? Is it?
I would just keep the game going and make a note in the app after the game.
Sorry, but like in terms of, so that player going off, is there any, I guess, expectation that the other team will take a player off as well, or is it just kind of too bad, so sad you've not got a bench?
Now, I know that happens in under 18 games where you have to even up the numbers. I'll get back to you. I'll find out what the rules are for the women's.
No worries.
I'll bring that up at the next Zoom meeting.
Cole, that actually happened in my female game on the weekend, and the two coaches came together.
Yeah.
Henley were down, I think, 2 players, so they agreed to play the rest at quarter time. Agreed to play with equal numbers.
Yeah. And if both clubs are happy, that's the way it should unfold. But I'll find out exactly what the league's direction is. I should know, but I'd have to check it out.
Okay, cool.
Get back to you. All right, we're running out of time, so I'm going to get onto this. Getting onto the video. Hopefully, you've all had a chance to have a bit of a look. A couple of interesting ones here. Okay. Yeah, thanks, Jace. Okay, example 1. All right. Someone that does women's footy. Paul Smith, can you unmute yourself? Were you watching?
I was. Women's footy, I would. Was it a deliberate kick or was it accidental? I think it was deliberate kick. I'd pay a free kick. Last possession.
You want to be certain that it's a deliberate kick. I actually personally don't
They had hands nowhere near the ball, so I thought it was deliberate.
Well, if you think it's a deliberate kick, yes, it's a free kick for last possession. Obviously, men's footy is just a throwing. But for women's footy, if it's a deliberate kick, then it's a last possession free kick. If you think it's just accidentally come off the foot in the pursuit of the ball, then you throw it in. And if you're at 50-50 and you doubt, you just throw it in. Make sense?
Yep.
All right, example 2. All right, Iggy, you want to unmute yourself, mate? No, can't unmute you. You're looking good. Just can't hear you. No, all right. Rob?
Are you there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
I can, mate. Is that Iggy?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, mate. What did you see there?
Yeah, so I saw the player with the ball pushed in the back.
Yep.
Free kick in the back.
Yeah. Ball player free kick, definitely. Possibly pushing the back, but certainly a dangerous tackle. So as a lift and a drive, I don't think it's necessarily bad enough for a card. But if you felt so inclined, I'm not going to lose any sleep if you did issue a yellow card. It was certainly a drive into the ground, but at least a free kick in that one. Rob Kane, you can do the next one. What do you think, mate?
So everything was all right up until the tackle slipped down below his knees. So I'd have a free kick to the ball player for below the knee tackle.
Spot on. So yeah, the first bit he sort of stumbles over the Crows player's legs. There's no free kick there, but the last bit, you're right. The tackle slips down and grabs hold of his foot, and there's a free kick for a trip.
Watching for holding the ball the whole time, he's got plenty of opportunity there.
That's exactly right. And so your mindset will be, yes, he's had a prior opportunity. Up until the last bit, the tackle is legal. You're waiting for a handball or kick. And then it becomes last minute, oh no, the tackle isn't legal. And it's the same with looking out for a dangerous tackle. You can often be thinking you're about ready to pay holding the ball, but that's where you delay the whistle to see whether the tackle is legal. All right, Craig Irwin. You got to unmute yourself, mate. Yep.
Sorry. Looks like he didn't have the ball, and he got tackled. He hadn't taken possession. Hanging on. That's what it looked like from what I've seen?
Yep. Spot on, mate. So didn't take possession of the ball, tackled illegally, holding the man for a kick. All right, and the last one. Joel, Julie, I can do this one. All right, Joel. Are you there? I reckon Mark Goods.
I had it as incorrect disposal holding the ball.
Yep. So clear prior opportunity, legal tackle, needs to immediately handball or kick. There's no handball or kick there, so either incorrect disposal or just a straight hold on the ball because he's had prior opportunity. Spot on. All right, let's roll through these last few examples. I'll just commentate these. And that's a good example of Shane Harris's spell check. It's not working properly on his computer. All right, an obvious and blatant high tackle, and it's a good example to show that don't think too much, don't read into too much. So don't think of him ducking into that or anything like that. If you start thinking, looking out for ducks, then and you don't pay that, then you've got problems, because that's one that everyone would expect to be paid. Obvious and blatant high tackle. And also really important that you get in the position to be able to see those. Pay the first free kick. So he's landing in his back, protecting the ball player. I want him to see him land on his side, but at the moment he lands on his back like that. So hold the whistle, let it unfold. There's a couple of contests here where you might be thinking about paying a free kick, but you just let it go until the obvious and blatant comes up. And the obvious and blatant there is he had a pro opportunity. So look at that again. Has a pro opportunity. Goes to fend off. Legally tackled. Doesn't handle or kick. Reacting to what happens with your decision making? So you might want to go back and have a look at that later if you didn't see that there, but there is an arm over the shoulder, and the umpire did well to get an angle on it. And so it's a good protective of all player free kick. Here's a nice obvious high tackle. And as I said before, if you don't get them, then you're going to look pretty silly. But the key is to get in a good position. Err on the side of the ball player. Does he land on his side? Does he land on his back? And that's where 50-50 goes in favour of the ball player. No one's going to lose any sleep over those type of free kicks being paid. So can you see the footy? The player tucks the ball underneath his arms and doesn't make a genuine attempt. And good free kick for holding the ball. So there needs to be an attempt to handball or kick. And in that case, you don't see the leg swing around for an attempted kick. And that's where you can say it's a legal disposal, he's just dropped the ball. So there's no pro opportunity, legal tackle. You want to see that leg swing around so that he actually attempts to kick. And if he's attempting to kick and the ball spills free, it's play on. But there's no attempt to kick and the ball just is dropped. So does he have a chance to handle or kick? And clearly he does. He's tackled, and the ball, when you have a pro opportunity and you're legally tackled, you must immediately handle or kick. Ball just spills free. That's why it's holding the ball. The play continues here. There's another good decision coming up. Corey Bowen, who did his 300th on the weekend. So ball's handballed out, late tackle to the ground. Good vision on the last act of play to pick that one up. And keeping an eye on the last act of play, this is where you can often get free kicks occurring. So it's just an unnecessarily tackle to the ground after he's handballed it. The Albion crowd don't like it. Those Port fans can't see obvious and blatant free kicks sometimes. And that was a good pick-up. All right, 80 to 85% of our frees go to the ball player. Can we see his head and shoulders? And that is a really good thing to keep in mind when you're out there, that if you're running and you can't see the head and shoulders of the ball player, you need to sprint so you can. And it's a really good trigger to keep in mind while you're trying to get a good position. All right, that's the video. Anyone else want to make a comment or question before we wind up? All right, we kept it to 30 minutes, which is good. I'll send out the notes, and yeah, all the best for your games this coming weekend. Hopefully we keep getting weather like we're getting at the moment. It's pretty sensational. And yeah, we'll have a break next week, and in a fortnight's time we'll have another Zoom meeting then. All right, guys.
Thanks, Cole.
Catch you later.
Thanks, Carl.